Chapter 103. The exterior of the Golden Lion Den was majestic and resplendent, but the interior was filled with a foul atmosphere. There were those who smoked tobacco pipes, those who drank alcohol, and those who spoke gibberish in drunkenness. Those who lost all of their fortune were bawling their eyes out. Every day, there would be quite a number of people who fainted after losing all of their fortune and had to be carried out of the den. However, there was still an endless stream of people entering from the outside. At the entrance of the Golden Lion Den, a middle-aged man who looked like a hoodlum was lying naked on the ground. He had already lost all of his clothes, leaving only a pair of underwear on his body to conceal his embarrassment. Upon seeing him, the passers-by would either have a look of ridicule on their faces or curse, "Look, this is the imperial brother-in-law." Or rather, he spat on the ground. However, the hoodlum lying on the ground was completely oblivious to it. Even though he was in deep sleep, a conceited smile hung on his lips, as though mocking those who mocked him. If one were to approach, one could even hear him muttering, "I am the imperial uncle, I am the imperial uncle. When the time comes, I'll teach you a lesson." Hoodlums, gamblers, prostitutes, drinkers. To the people of the Golden Lion Den, this day seemed to be no different. Until a deafening sound came from outside. Ong long long. No one could withstand the sudden tremor. It was as though the entire Golden Lion Den was being held up by a pair of gigantic palms. This abrupt change caused many of the prostitutes and singers in the Golden Lion Den to shriek in shock. Many gamblers who were in the midst of gambling also turned their heads around in panic. Their faces were pale. Unknowingly, two towering figures had appeared at the entrance of the Golden Lion Den. The two of them stood side by side, blocking the sunlight that shone in from the outside. In an instant, the entire Golden Lion Den turned dark, as though day had turned into night. In that instant, everyone was dumbfounded by this sudden change. Turning around, as though a rabbit being stared at by a lion, their bodies trembled in fear. "Imperial Army! It's the Imperial Army! No! It's the Chamberlain of Insignia! It's the Chamberlain of Insignia!" Many people suddenly recognized the two towering figures at the entrance. Dressed in armor, they resembled golden-armored deities who had descended from the heavens. These were not ordinary imperial guards but the imperial guards of the imperial palace. They were responsible for the safety of the emperor's chambers and were the closest guards to the Son of Heaven. Although they knew that the two of them weren't demons or ghosts, they still couldn't help but feel a chill in their hearts after being stared at by those two pairs of bell-like eyes. "Yang Zhao? Who is Yang Zhao?" One of the two suddenly opened his mouth. The deafening roar sounded like the roar of a lion, shaking the entire Golden Lion Den. Some of the more cowardly ones trembled in fear, and they even wet their pants. The women screamed in fright. "Who is Yang Zhao?" The mountain-like figure spoke again. This time, its bell-like eyes carried a trace of anger. He is. A gambler suddenly pointed at a middle-aged man who was sleeping soundly on the ground next to the two imperial insignia. His fingers were trembling violently. In an instant, everyone's eyes were focused on the middle-aged hoodlum who was sleeping soundly on the ground at the entrance. Even the two imperial insignia, who were as burly as mountains, were the same. Being stared at by so many people, the snoring Yang Zhao finally sensed that something was amiss. He slowly opened his bleary eyes. "Who is it?" Seeing the massive face that suddenly appeared before him, Yang Zhao subconsciously asked, "You are Yang Zhao?" The towering imperial insignia bent down, and his face was almost touching Yang Zhao's. However, this time his voice was much gentler. Lying on the ground, Yang Zhao was taken aback. A hint of doubt flashed across his eyes, but soon he focused his gaze on the indestructible armor on his body. "Imperial insignia. You are the imperial insignia." Yang Zhao was stunned for a moment. In an instant, he seemed to have understood something and exclaimed, "Peng!" Yang Zhao abruptly stood up from the ground. A surge of ecstasy surged through Yang Zhao's heart, making him extremely excited. He knew that the moment he had been waiting for had finally arrived. "Haha, imperial insignia. Imperial insignia. You bunch of snobbish bastards, Do you see that? I am the imperial uncle, I am the imperial uncle. I, Yang Zhao, have struck it rich. Yang Zhao abruptly leaped up from the ground and danced excitedly. Everyone in the Golden Lion Den was stunned by his actions. But Yang Zhao paid them no heed. He was frenziedly venting the ecstasy in his heart. You bunch of blind fools, how dare you say that I am lying? Do you see that? Imperial insignia. Imperial insignia. My younger sister has sent someone to fetch me. I am the imperial uncle, I am the imperial uncle. Looking at the shocked and fearful gazes, Yang Zhao felt incomparably exhilarated. The displeasure of the past few days, being mocked, belittled and mocked, all of it was swept away. Before Yang Zhao could fully enjoy this moment, a massive palm suddenly reached out from behind and grabbed Yang Zhao. As though carrying a little chick, it carried him out. All of Yang Zhao's words came to an abrupt halt. He was carried onto the carriage by 2 imperial insignia, and the carriage rumbled away. In the Golden Lion Den, everyone was dumbstruck. For a very long time, no one spoke. Someone dropped a piece of tobacco and burned his feet. His mouth was agape, but he didn't feel anything at all. Pooh! Water splashed everywhere, and a huge bucket of cold water splashed onto Yang Zhao's body. The glory and adoration he had expected didn't appear. Yang Zhao appeared here the moment he entered the palace. Even though the water was poured onto him in a bucket, when the cold water splashed onto his body, Yang Zhao felt as though he was being stabbed by a saber. His entire body was aching and cold, as though a layer of his skin had been peeled off. Don't move! Just as Yang Zhao was about to speak, another bucket of cold water splashed onto his body and mouth. On the other side, 2 expressionless old nannies held 2 buckets of water in their hands. Their gazes were so sharp that it seemed as though they could slice off a layer of his skin. Her Highness is a precious treasure. You are dirty and smelly, how can you meet her in such a state? Stand here obediently and don't seek trouble for yourself. Even though the 2 old nannies looked much younger than before, they seemed to possess boundless strength. Yang Zhao felt that even if 17 or 18 people of his caliber were to come, the 2 old nannies would be able to subdue them easily. Facing the threatening gazes of the 2 old nannies, Yang Zhao finally obediently lowered his hands and stopped moving. Wah wah wah! Bucket after bucket of cold well water splashed onto Yang Zhao's body. His skin was flushed red, as though it had been scorched by fire. Only then did the 2 old nannies stop. Following which, a few palace maids came in with razors to shave Yang Zhao's stubble, comb his hair, place a golden crown on his head, and dress him in a white robe. All of this took nearly 4 hours before it finally came to a stop. Lords, it's done. You can bring him to meet Her Highness now. The 2 old nannies looked at Yang Zhao, who was dressed appropriately, before turning around and expressionlessly speaking to the 2 chamberlains of imperial insignia who had been watching from the beginning. The 2 tall and muscular chamberlains of imperial insignia assessed Yang Zhao from head to toe. Even though they had no concept of beauty or ugliness, they couldn't help but nod their heads in approval. The current Yang Zhao was completely different from the Yang Zhao they saw at the entrance of the Golden Lion Denver. When they first saw him, Yang Zhao's stubble and hair were unkempt, reminiscent of a lowly thug. However, the current Yang Zhao was completely different. A silver crown, a plain white robe, a smooth chin, a clean face, a pair of sword-like eyebrows, and a clear gaze. Even if he were to say that he was an important minister who had just left the court, no one would doubt him. As expected of Her Highness's elder brother, they share the same bloodline. The 2 chamberlains of imperial insignia nodded their heads in approval. That person was able to obtain the favor of the sage emperor, so how could his elder brother be any worse than him? Follow me. The 2 chamberlains of imperial insignia turned around and led Yang Zhao away. In the depths of the royal palace, a distance away from the residences of the other concubines, stood the Yuzhen Palace. This was a newly constructed palace. In this palace, Yang Zhao finally met his younger sister. A red tent spanning more than a dozen zhang was erected in the depths of the Yuzhen Palace. At the 4 corners of the tent stood 4 muscular chamberlains of imperial insignia, each wielding a halberd in their hands. Their entire body was covered in armor, and even their faces were concealed. They stood there motionlessly, as though a guardian deity. Within the tent, a slender and hazy figure could be vaguely seen. Even though she was just sitting there, she exuded a beautiful and elegant aura. With a single glance, Yang Zhao recognized that it was his cousin. "Hold it right there." Barely after Yang Zhao took a few steps forward, the clanging of metal resounded in the surroundings of the tent, and an intense chill permeated the air. A few chamberlains of imperial insignia stepped forward, and killing intent seeped out from the gaps in their armor. "His Majesty has decreed that no one is to approach Consort Taizhen. Those who disobey shall be executed." Their voices were resolute, and every single word they uttered sounded as though it was as heavy as lead. "Cousin, don't come over." An anxious voice came from within the red tent. That voice was crisp and melodious, yet soft and gentle, causing ripples in one's heart, as well as a trace of tenderness. Yang Zhao hurriedly lowered his head, not daring to have any ripples in his heart. His cousin had always been a natural beauty. When she was only 7 years old, a magician had already come knocking on her door, saying that she had the fate of a phoenix and the disposition of a palace. Yang Zhao was by no means a gentleman, but towards this cousin of his, Yang Zhao had never had any improper thoughts. Furthermore, she was someone that the Holy Emperor had taken a liking to. In the future, if he wanted to achieve meteoric success, he would have to rely on this cousin of his. Right now, if anyone had the slightest bit of evil thoughts, the first person to object would probably be him, Yang Zhao. "Younger sister, why is this so?" Yang Zhao calmed his heart, but his heart was filled with doubts. He was the cousin of Consort Taizhen. Logically speaking, the emperor should not have forbidden him. "This is His Majesty's order. Last month, a master of divination checked on me and said that I have the misfortune of a red demon rushing into the palace. If I want to be with His Majesty, I must meditate in the palace for 49 days. During this period of time, no one is allowed to go near me. Because of this, more than 10 palace maids have died in the palace." In the red tent, Consort Taizhen's voice said. Yang Zhao sniffed, and only then did he smell a faint scent of blood in the air. He couldn't help but be shocked, and hurriedly retreated a few steps, not daring to go any closer. "Younger sister, what did you summon me for this time? I've waited for a long time this time." After retreating, Yang Zhao calmed himself down and grumbled with a hint of resentment. "Older brother, I do have something to ask of you." "Younger sister, I am in a precarious situation, and have reached the critical moment of life and death. Only older brother can help me now." Consort Taizhen's voice came from the tent, with a hint of anxiety. Chapter 104. "Little sister, what's wrong?" Yang Zhao asked anxiously. His voice was even more anxious than Consort Taizhen's. The reason why he had come all the way here from Jianan was because of his cousin, Consort Taizhen, who was in the royal palace. If something were to happen here, all of his glory and wealth would be for naught. His Majesty intends to confer me as his consort, but the officials are reacting strongly against this matter. Due to His Majesty, at least half of the officials are attacking me. I'm currently in a dire situation, and my life could be at stake. If this matter succeeds, I'll be able to live with His Majesty day and night, and I'll be able to fulfill my wish. Or perhaps I might fail. Since ancient times, people like me have never had a good ending. Even though Consort Taizhen was trying her best to maintain her composure, her voice still carried a hint of fear and unease. Since ancient times, there had never been a lady who was being attacked by half of the officials. This wasn't a pressure that she could bear alone. Just the thought of the memorials flying into the palace was enough to wake her up from her nightmares time and time again. "What?" Yang Zhao's face immediately warped in shock. He knew that it wasn't easy for his younger sister, and he had heard a little about the matters in the royal court. However, he didn't think that it would be so dangerous. "What should we do then?" "Of all the officials in the royal court, the ones who oppose me the most are the King of Song and an official named Wang. General, putting aside the other officials, the King of Song is a member of the royal family, a king of the Tang dynasty. On top of that, he wields great influence in the royal court. As for Wang Zhen, he's from the Wang clan. Even though he can't compare to the king of Song, his father is the famous Duke Jiao of the Tang dynasty. Consort Taizhen said. Wang Zhen? Yang Zhao frowned. He wasn't familiar with the people in the royal court yet. However, he vaguely felt that Wang Zhen was somewhat familiar. It didn't seem to be just because his father was Duke Jiao of the Tang dynasty. Currently, only Duke Jiao hasn't expressed his opinion. His opinion had a great influence on the court officials and the emperor. The king of Song and the Wang family had been friends for 3 generations. Today was Duke Jiao's 70th birthday. The king of Song would definitely go and offer his blessings. If Duke Jiao publicly expresses his support for him, that would be terrible. Consort Taizhen's voice came from the red tent, filled with worry and resentment. She had never expected things to turn out this way. She hadn't done anything evil, nor had she interfered with the court's politics. All she wanted was to be with the person she loved. Why were there so many people against it? Sister, what do you want me to do? Yang Zhao said without hesitation. He didn't know much, but his only advantage was that no matter what, as long as it was his sister's word, he would never hesitate. Even if he had to kill someone, he would do it without hesitation. His Majesty told me that no matter what, he would bring me into the palace and keep me by his side. There are also many officials in the court who have expressed their support for His Majesty and me, including the Prince of Qi and the Yao clan. But this is far from enough. Duke Jiao's status is unique, and His Majesty has always treated him with respect. I can only think of a way to rope in the other officials. Consort Taizhen clapped her hands in the tent, and several old nannies in the Yuzhen Palace immediately carried several boxes filled with gold leaves, gold biscuits, and gold bars, and pushed them to Yang Zhao. The sight of so much gold left Yang Zhao's eyes dazzled. I don't know many people in the capital, and given His Majesty's and my status, it isn't suitable for me to make an appearance. I can only think of you for this matter. These are some of the rewards that His Majesty has bestowed upon me. Take them. You have to find a way to rope in the other officials in the shortest time possible. Consort Taizhen said with a tinge of sadness in her voice. Little sister, don't worry. Leave this matter to me. Yang Zhao patted his chest. He paused for a moment and said hesitantly, however, I'm afraid it's not enough to just give them some gold. I'm afraid it's not enough to bribe those courtiers. Don't worry. Go and tell them that as long as I can safely get through this, I'll be able to help you. I will definitely think of a way to guide them and ensure their prosperity and wealth. As for the King of Song, I have no enmity with him, yet he has repeatedly summoned his ministers and jointly remonstrated me, wanting to put me to death. If I can survive this, I will definitely make him and that Wang clan die without a burial ground. Consort Taizhen said coldly. At the end of her words, her voice was filled with intense hatred. For the King of Song, this matter might concern the reputation of the royal family, but for her, it concerned her life and death. When a person was forced into a desperate situation, even the weakest person would slowly become tough. Don't worry, little sister. With your words, I'm confident. Yang Zhao agreed and didn't say anything else. Although he had lost all his money in the gambling den, Yang Zhao had gotten used to seeing people from all walks of life and had learned many things from them. The world is bustling, and everyone comes for profit. The world is bustling, and everyone goes for profit. As long as there was enough profit, he was confident that he could move anyone. After summoning 2 nannies, Yang Zhao brought a chest full of treasures and left Yuzhen Palace. While Yang Zhao was leaving Yuzhen Palace, somewhere else, Your Highness, the King of Song has already left the King of Song residence. A well-built figure entered the King Qi manor and respectfully knelt on the ground as he made his report. Good. Behind a red sandalwood table sat a figure with a majestic aura, as vast as the mountains and seas. He exuded a fearsome aura, and anyone who saw him would think that he was a coiled-up flood dragon. Old Master Yao is right. This king's chance has finally come. King Qi's eyes lit up and he laughed heartily. Yao Guangyi had assured him time and time again that nothing would go wrong, but in the end he still messed it up. The reason why he suppressed his anger was because old Master Yao had personally appeared and told him that he still had a chance. If he made good use of this chance, he wouldn't even need to eradicate the Wang clan. Instead, he could topple both the King of Song and the Wang clan. Furthermore, he would never be able to make a comeback. After all, the one who wanted to topple him wasn't him but the Holy Emperor, the Son of Heaven. Haha, Li Qingqi. Do you think that you are being loyal? Are you trying to go against His Majesty? King Qi laughed heartily. If not for old Master Yao's guidance, he would still be unaware of the consort Taijin incident. His Majesty had already made up his mind that regardless of the price he had to pay, regardless of the objections of the officials, he would bring consort Taijin into the palace. In the royal palace, there were already people who addressed consort Taijin as Empress in private. Without His Majesty's approval, no one would dare to do such a thing. Even that consort Taijin probably didn't know that even though half of the officials in the royal court were against her and the situation seemed to be extremely disadvantageous to her. But in truth, her position as consort Taijin was already in the bag. Old Master Yao's eyes were as sharp as a candle, and he was able to discern people accurately. He had followed the Holy Emperor for decades, so there was no way he would be wrong about this. As an official, it's one thing for you to argue for the military affairs of the country in the royal court, but to think that you would even interfere in His Majesty's family affairs. The King of Song, you are breaking the rules. Haha, you're courting death yourself, no one can stop you. Go, Duke Zhou's birthday banquet, you better drag that old fellow down with you. King Qi laughed heartily. The matter of consort Taijin had caused a huge uproar in the royal court, and all of the officials were bringing out their moral principles to advise His Majesty against it. However, King Qi didn't care about it at all. In fact, he was even more eager for those fellows to cause a huge uproar. In the end, it would be for the King of Song to lead the officials and cause a huge uproar that even His Majesty would find himself in a difficult position. That would be the best. Wang Chong didn't know of the commotion outside, nor was he aware that Yuzhen Palace and King Qi residence were currently revolving around the matter of consort Taijin. At this moment, Wang Chong was looking in the direction of the entrance of the Four Quarters Embassy. A huge commotion was happening there. With the arrival of friends, enemies would follow. It seemed like the old master's birthday banquet wasn't just attended by friends. What are you looking at? I'm here to offer my blessings to Duke Zhou, can't I? A voice that seemed to take advantage of his seniority and was very rude came from his direction. Old fellow, don't go overboard. Do you have any ties with Duke Zhou? Elder Ma's voice sounded from the entrance of the Four Quarters Embassy, and he seemed to be stopping the other party from entering. Do I need a stable driver like you to teach me whether I have any ties or not? Even Duke Zhou didn't say that I'm not allowed in, so who do you think you are? Scram. Following which, a loud explosion sounded, and the entire Four Quarters Embassy shook. A powerful shockwave shook the surroundings, seemingly stemming from the friendship between Elder Ma and that person. Wang Chong rushed over, and in just a few steps, he saw a white-haired elder who seemed as though he could even crush a mountain with his might. He walked in through the entrance with a large group of people. With the golden token on his waist lit up, even the Imperial Army didn't dare to stop him. Bastard, it's that old tortoise again. Wang Chong walked to the corner of the fake mountain, and upon seeing that person, he cursed inwardly. No one dared to act so brazenly in Grandfather's Four Quarters Embassy. The only ones who dared to do so, and even the Imperial Army didn't dare to stop them, were those old officials of the old master's generation. However, different from Elder Ma, Elder Zhao, and the others, the person before him was the old master's political rival. Su Shao was the old master's rival in the royal court back then. When he was young, he often opposed the old master on military affairs. The old master was also hot-blooded when he was young, and he didn't see eye to eye with him either. The two of them had submitted countless memorials to each other. Back then, during the coup in the royal court, Su Shao was supposed to be impeached. However, at the very last moment, he actually led a group of soldiers to rescue the emperor. This allowed him to escape from that political calamity, and after the coup, he was conferred the title of Duke of Su, allowing him to move freely in the Tang dynasty. When the old master was young, he was hot-blooded and hot-blooded. As he grew older, he gradually cultivated his character, and his self-restraint improved. On the other hand, Duke of Su Shao, didn't change at all. He was still the same as before. This old fellow was already very old, and he was only a few years younger than grandfather. He had retired from the court long ago, but his temper had not changed since he had been at odds with his grandfather all his life. Every year, during grandfather's birthday banquet, this fellow would come uninvited and cause a ruckus with his children and grandchildren. In his previous life, Wang Chong secretly scolded him as Old Tortoise, and once, he heard it and pulled on the other party's ear. Chapter 105. You little bastards, wait outside for me. Play and look around as you please. I want to see who in the Four Quarters Embassy dares to stop you. If anyone dares to disrespect me, I'll poke a huge hole in his head. The old man said haughtily, wait till I meet that old fool of the Wang clan, then I'll bring you all back. Yes, grandfather. We've seen your might, so feel free to go. The Su clan's grandsons smiled cheekily as they lowered their heads to fawn on their grandfather shamelessly. Bastards! From afar, cousin Wang Li, cousin Wang Zhuyen, and cousin Wang Liang had already stepped forward to welcome them. Looking at the Su clan's group of old and young, they glared at them furiously. These fellows could be considered as frequent visitors to grandfather's birthday banquet. They claimed that they were here to offer their blessings. But in truth, they were here to cause trouble. No one could understand why grandfather would allow these unwelcome fellows in every single time. Heh, how does the Wang clan treat their guests? Don't forget that we're guests. Didn't your Wang clan teach you this? The grandsons of the old man held their heads high, their faces full of arrogance. Brats, if the one who said those words was your grandfather, I might still give him some face. However, you brats, scram to the side obediently. The old man also chimed in by the side. Old Tortoise, is this all you've got? Despite your age, all you know is to bully us juniors. Wang Chong finally couldn't hold it in any longer. Shua. In an instant, everyone's gazes were drawn over. Hearing the words Old Tortoise, the old man's face reddened, as though he had been injected with a layer of chicken blood. By the side, the faces of his grandsons darkened, and they glared at him viciously. Wang Chong didn't dodge. Walking out from the fake mountain, he calmly walked toward Old Man Su. Every clan had a few unwelcome guests. Old Man Su was one of them. Wang Chong couldn't stand his arrogance. When there was a change in the palace, I hid in my own turtle shell and didn't move at all. Only when the dust had almost settled did he send a group of family soldiers over to claim the title of High Duke Su. Old man, if you're not an old turtle, then who is an old turtle? Wang Chong walked over and said rudely. In his previous life, Wang Chong did not give him the name Old Tortoise randomly. It was not a coincidence. In Wang Chong's opinion, the reason why he could get the position of High Duke Su was because he was afraid of death. When he saw that the matter was settled, he used his skills. Brat. Old Man Su turned his head around, his entire body trembling. His face was red with anger. Back then, Su Shao had arrived late in the palace coup and had been criticized by the court officials. It was also Su Shao's greatest sore spot. Who would have thought that Wang Chong would dig it out today? Come here, come here. I promise I won't bounce you from one wall to the other. Wang Chong was not that stupid. Seeing Old Man Su's eyes turn red, he hurriedly retreated. High Duke Su, since you've come in. At this time, a voice that was neither loud nor soft sounded in everyone's ears. Heh, little bastard, on account of your grandfather, I won't argue with you for now. Hearing this voice, Old Man Su's tears turned to laughter, his anger turned to joy. With a flick of his sleeve, he raised his head high and walked in with large strides with an expression that said, I won't bicker with you. Behind him, Old Man Su's group of grandchildren also followed suit, each of them holding their heads high. Old Tortoise and Little Tortoise are really jackals of the same tribe. Wang Chong cursed in his heart. The old man's seniority was too old. He was from the same generation as his old man. Wang Chong could not do anything to him. He could only grab hold of his sore spot and make him unhappy. Brat, this name of yours is pretty good. The old fellow seems to be fearful of you. Look at him, he seems to be getting anxious. Cousin Wang Zhuyan walked over with a smile on her face. Old man Su was a typical uninvited guest. He didn't come over to cause trouble every year from this year. Wang Zhuyan had already been like this since young. But this was the first time she saw him getting so anxious that his eyes turned red. If he dares to cause trouble here again, we'll call him Old Tortoise. Let's see how anxious he is. Wang Zhuyan couldn't help but laugh at the very end. Wang Chong also couldn't help but laugh as well. Honestly speaking, even though old man Su was a disrespectful old man, making use of his seniority to cause trouble every single time it was grandfather's birthday. Every time it was his grandfather's birthday, he would come and cause trouble. But other than that, he didn't do anything else. Wang Chong's impression of him wasn't too bad. Calling him an old turtle was like grabbing his sore spot and making him unhappy. That was enough. Just as Wang Chong was speaking with cousin Wang Zhuyan, no one noticed that the eldest granddaughter of the Yi clan, Yi Yinping, was looking at them from afar. Harumphing lightly, she seemed to have thought of something, and she suddenly walked toward the grandchildren of Duke of Su, Su Shao. Wang Chong. All of a sudden, a loud bellow attracted everyone's attention. Wang Chong turned around and saw a young and arrogant figure standing out from the crowd. Do you have the guts to fight me? He extended a finger and pointed it at Wang Chong from a distance, his voice brimming with arrogance and haughtiness. For an instant, the surroundings of the erudite pavilion fell silent. This sudden noise attracted everyone's attention from all directions. The Imperial Army, guards, cousins Wang Li, Wang Liang, Big Aunt, Uncle, as well as the grandchildren of Duke of Hu, Elder Ma, Elder Zhao, Elder Sun. All of them turned their gazes over. This was especially so for the descendants of his grandfather's old subordinates who had just acknowledged Wang Chong at his grandfather's behest. They all looked over with anticipation in their eyes. Wang Chong was someone whom their grandfather acknowledged, but honestly speaking, they didn't know much about Wang Chong. Su Xian. Wang Chong narrowed his eyes. He recognized the person immediately. This person was none other than the most talented grandson of the younger generation of the Su clan, Su Xian. However, this wasn't the reason why Wang Chong recognized him. Rather, it was because he was around the same age as him, but his reputation in the capital was far greater than his. Others gave him the nickname Su Yi1, which meant that among his peers, Su Xian stood out like a crane among chickens. Wang Chong knew that even though he was only 16, his cultivation was already at Origin Energy Tier 7. His cultivation was much higher than that of Wei Hao and Gao Fei. Even Su Bai, whom Wang Chong had sent to prison, couldn't compare to him. Other than Wang Chong's elder brother, cousin, and those of Yao Feng's generation, there was basically no one who could defeat him. In the capital, Su Xian seemed to be the leader of his peers, outshining them all. However, Wang Chong was perplexed. Su Xian had always been arrogant, and he looked down on those of his generation. Why would he suddenly challenge him? Wang Chong, it can't be that you're afraid? Are you still a man? Do you expect us to bow down to you and address you as young Master Chong? Suddenly, the cold, disdainful, and mocking voice of a young lady sounded. In an instant, everyone's attention was focused on Wang Chong. Wang Chong's heart jolted. Following the voice, he saw the snow-white, jade-like figure behind Su Xian, Yinping, with a haughty expression reminiscent of a peacock. So it's her. Wang Chong chuckled. He was still wondering why Su Xian would suddenly turn his attention to him, but it turned out that Yi Yinping was the culprit. It was rumored that the martial arts genius of the Su clan, Su Xian, had been wooing Yi Yinping, but he had been rejected mercilessly. From the looks of it now, Yi Yinping must have made some conditions to Su Xian to provoke him in order to embarrass him. Yinping, don't worry. I'll make sure that lad dies a miserable death for you. Su Xian turned around and spoke with a gentle voice. As he spoke, he subconsciously reached out to grab Yinping's hand. Scram! With a look of disgust, Yi Yinping slapped away Su Xian's hand without any hesitation. Su Xian was placed in an awkward position. His hand froze in midair as he vented his anger on Wang Chong. Wang Chong, do you dare to fight with me or not? To think that your Wang clan is a clan of ministers and generals, to think that you don't even have a single man, fine. I'll fight with you. Before Su Xian could finish his words, Wang Chong had already cut him off with a resolute and decisive answer. Su Xian was powerful and experienced. In the capital, there wasn't a single scion of the same age who was a match for him. Wang Chong had been cultivating diligently for a period of time recently, and he wanted to find someone to spar with so as to test the results of his cultivation. Even though Su Xian's strength was a level higher than his, Wang Chong didn't fear him. Besides, Wang Chong swept his gaze across the crowd. Duke of Hu, Elder Ma, Elder Zhao, Elder Sun. These were the grandchildren of his grandfather's old subordinates, and they were looking at him expectantly. Even though they were forced by his grandfather to acknowledge him as young Master Chong, they didn't understand him at all. If he were to back down at this moment, they wouldn't know how they would view him as young Master Chong. This was the reason why Yi Yinping incited Su Xian to deal with him. At this moment, he couldn't back down. Su Xian was taken aback. It took a long while for him to recover from his shock. With a cold gaze, he said, "Wang Chong, you asked for it. Fists and legs have no eyes, so don't blame me for going too far later on." Even if it wasn't for Yi Yinping, just the fact that Wang Chong had insulted his grandfather as an old tortoise was more than enough for Su Xian to teach him a lesson. What better way to vent his grandfather's anger than to trample on his grandson in the Four Quarters Embassy on Duke Jiao's 70th birthday? Su Xian stomped on the ground, raising a cloud of dust. Then, a powerful aura emanated from his body. With a darkened face, Su Xian walked toward Wang Chong with a domineering aura. "Wait a moment." Wang Chong suddenly shouted. "Are you going back on your words?" Su Xian said with an awful complexion. If you want me to fight with you, you have to have a stake." Wang Chong said. Just a moment ago, he suddenly had a very good idea. Yi Yinping might have done him a huge favor. "A stake?" Su Xian halted his footsteps and frowned. He had sparred with so many people in the capital, but he had never heard of a stake. Doesn't your Su clan have a bone-forging pill? You want to challenge me? Sure, but you have to hand over a bone-forging pill. I don't want to make a loss. Wang Chong wagged his finger. 1. Chapter 106. There was an elder in the Su family who became an alchemist when he was young. Not many people knew about this, but it was not a secret among the nobles. Relying on the occasional pills given by this elder of the family, the descendants of the Su family always had a much greater advantage in terms of cultivation compared to the descendants of other aristocratic families. This pill was called the bone-forging pill, and it was a pill that only the Su family's elder possessed. It was not for sale, and because the production of this pill was very low, it was never given to outsiders. The most famous legend about refining elixir bones was 3 elixirs refining leopard bones. With just 3 elixirs, one would be able to refine the most basic level of the panther bone without even cultivating. Raising one's root bone had always been known to be difficult. The Su clan's bone-forging pill could refine a layer of panther bone with just 3 pills. The value of this pill could be imagined. However, despite this convenience, the Su family could not provide them with an unlimited supply. The bone-forging pill was extremely difficult to refine. In a year, the Su family's elder had only given the Su family 5 or 6 pills. Moreover, it would have to be shared equally among many children. Therefore, the Su family was very stingy towards this kind of bone-forging pill. However, Wang Chong knew that Su Xian definitely had more than one. The aristocratic families had always had a tradition of focusing on nurturing their most outstanding disciples. In the Su family, Su Xian's strength was not the highest, but his talent was the highest. He was undoubtedly a genius that the Su family would nurture. He definitely had more than one bone-forging pill on him. Are you kidding me? How could we casually give something like the bone-forging pill to you? Before Su Xian could speak, the eldest brother of the Su clan, Su Jing, spoke up. In the past, the old man and Wang Chong's grandfather were political enemies. When they were young, they fought fiercely and impeached each other countless times. Thus, The Su clan had never been afraid to suppress the descendants of the Wang clan in such a public setting, to help their grandfather vent his anger and avenge the grievance from back then. But the bone-forging pill was another matter. Even the Su clan didn't have enough for themselves, so why would the Wang clan brat think that the Su clan would? Isn't this fellow indulging in the wildest fantasies? Su Jing now suspected that Yi Yinping, who was backing his little brother, was deliberately colluding with Wang Chong for the Su family's bone-tempering pills. Humph! Scram if you don't have the guts. Wang Li said coldly. He and Su Jing belonged to the same generation, and it was rare for Wang Li and Wang Chong to see eye to eye with the Su clan. The two brothers did not have a good impression of each other. But since Grandpa didn't say anything, they couldn't do anything. Furthermore, this was the Four Quarters Embassy, a place that the Holy Emperor had specially opened for his grandfather. If he went too far here, the Su family would know the consequences. Therefore, Wang Li wasn't too worried about the battle between Wang Chong and Su Xian. You! Su Jing was furious. But before he could say anything, he heard a voice in his ears. Humph, isn't it just a promised bone-refining pill? I promise you. Brother Xian. Su Jing was shocked. It was absolutely forbidden to take out the bone-forging pill as a wager. Once they started this, if everyone else did the same thing and asked the Su family to take out bone-refining pills at every turn, how could the Su family continue doing business? Big brother, I know what to do. I don't need you to teach me. Su Xian spoke bluntly, and it caused Su Jing's expression to turn livid and extremely unsightly. This bastard! Relying on his superior talent to win the favor of his grandfather, he was getting more and more overboard. To think that he would dare to disregard even his big brother. Su Xian didn't care about his big brother's expression at all. He wasn't a fool, and he knew what he was doing. Wang Chong, I can take out the bone-refining pill. Su Xian reached into his robe and took out a small but exquisite purple brocade box. The bone-refining pill was the most precious item he had on him, and it wasn't safe to place it anywhere. Thus, Su Xian always carried it with him. But what about you, Wang Chong? What are you going to use as a wager? It can't be that you think that you don't need to pay a price? Su Xian stretched out his hand and said coldly. He wasn't that foolish. Since Wang Chong wanted his bone-refining pill, he had to take out something of equal value. But if you use a bone-refining pill, I'll take out a Wuxia steel sword. What do you think? Wang Chong was astounded. A Wuxia steel sword. The Su clan's disciples were moved. After the incident with Su Bai, the matter of Wang Chong selling swords was no longer a secret. Because of Wang Chong's Wuxia steel sword, Su Bai had suffered greatly in the Supreme Court of Justice and had yet to be fished out. There wasn't anyone in the capital who didn't know about this matter. At the same time, Wang Chong's wood steel sword appeared before everyone's eyes. The Wuxia steel sword is known as the #1 sword in the world, and one can be sold for 40 to 50,000 gold taels. Exchanging a Wuxia steel sword for a bone-refining pill isn't a waste. At this moment, even Su Jing didn't oppose it. Su Xian was greatly moved. There were many ways to increase one's strength, and the bone-refining pill was one of them. However, an incomparably sharp sword that could cut through iron like mud was another. Exchanging a bone-refining pill for a Wuxia steel sword worth 40 to 50,000 gold taels was definitely a good deal. Good. Su Xian laughed heartily. With a flick of his finger, he tossed the box containing the bone-refining pill to Su Xian. Big brother, help me hold on to it first. If I lose, give it to the Wang clan. If I win, Wang Chong, I believe that your Wang clan won't dare to turn down my offer. Wang Chong was delighted that Su Xian was willing to take out the bone-refining pill. He had to put in a lot of effort to cultivate the dragon bone art. If he had the bone-refining pill, he would be able to advance to the next level. In the future, through some other means, he might just be able to reach tiger bone swiftly. Come, Su Xian. Having gotten what he wanted, Wang Chong walked forward. Brother Chong, are you confident? Wang Zhuyan called out worriedly. This cousin of hers had always been idling about. Even though his personality seemed to have changed recently, she had no idea how his martial arts were. Don't worry. Wang Chong chuckled. He shot his cousin a "don't worry" gaze before walking toward the square between him and Su Xian. "Yinping, don't worry. I only need 3 breaths to get rid of that lad." At the same time, Su Xian also shot a reassuring gaze behind him with a gentle expression. 3 breaths? Yi Yinping frowned in dissatisfaction. One move. 1 move is enough." Su Xian hurriedly corrected himself. "Go on," Yinping said coldly. Her expression wasn't pleasant at all. She didn't like to lower her head to that lad from the Wang clan. His cultivation was far beneath hers. She didn't know what kind of bewitching potion her grandfather drank, but with just a few words, he was willing to acknowledge him as young master. Shi Yinping was the pride of the heavens. She controlled her own fate and didn't submit to anyone. Why should she lower her head to a weakling who was beneath her? She wanted to make use of this opportunity to humiliate him so that her grandfather would give up on the idea. As for Su Xian, did he really think that she would be with him? A lousy toad lusting after the flesh of a swan. Oblivious to Yi Yinping's thoughts, Su Xian walked toward the square with a smile on his face. "Wang Chong, take out your weapon. Otherwise, I'm afraid that you won't stand a chance." Around 50 zhang away from Wang Chong, Su Xian stopped and pointed at Wang Chong arrogantly. He had heard of Wang Chong's reputation, and it wasn't very good. If not for Yi Yinping, he wouldn't even be qualified to challenge him. Of those who challenged him, 8 out of 10 had a higher cultivation than him. "I don't have a weapon." Wang Chong clapped his hands. This was the truth. He had given one sword to Zhao Fengchen and the other to the old master, leaving the rest at home. Arrogant and conceited. Fury flashed across Su Xian's eyes. "You asked for it. Since that's the case, don't blame me for this." Su Xian's bones creaked, and the stone floor beneath his feet creaked as well, as though it was unable to withstand his weight. Upon reaching Origin Energy Tier 7, one's strength would rise significantly, and every single one of their movements would carry immense might. Su Xian's best record was killing a berserk male elephant with a single punch. This was something that the Su clan was prepared to offer to the royal family, but in the second month, it suddenly went berserk and charged out of the fences into the streets. Su Xian killed it with a single punch, causing blood to flow from its 7 apertures, and it lay motionless on the ground. Even though he didn't have any bottom line toward the girl he liked, Su Xian's strength was undeniable. If Wang Chong thought that he would be able to take the bone-forging pill from his hands easily, he would be gravely mistaken. Elephant fragrance art. An aura surged beneath Su Xian's feet, and the air around him began to distort. A powerful aura began to emanate from Su Xian's body. Upon seeing this scene, even Yi Yinping's eyes flashed with a hint of surprise, let alone the others. Elephant fragrance art. It's elephant fragrance art. Astonished voices sounded in the surroundings. Those who were able to enter the Four Quarters Embassy were either wealthy or noble, and their knowledge far surpassed that of ordinary people. Soon, someone recognized the technique. Hearing the exclamations in the surroundings, the offspring of the Su clan revealed a proud expression. The Su clan specialized in the business of elephants, and it wasn't without reason that they came into contact with elephants. Back then, the old master had contributed greatly to the rescue of the emperor, and the royal family bestowed upon him several royal martial arts manuals. One of them was elephant fragrance art. While others were still cultivating inferior martial arts like steel chains traversing the river, the Su clan was already able to cultivate a powerful martial art like the elephant fragrance art. Once one mastered this martial art, it would be hard to find a match in the same realm. It was through this elephant fragrance art that Su Xian was invincible among his peers. If Wang Chong were to use a weapon, he might still stand a chance. However, if he were to use his bare hands, he would be courting death. Elephant fragrance art. Su Xian bellowed. In an instant, his mind and body became one, and the air around him exploded. At the same time, the trumpeting of an elephant echoed in the air. Su Xian's body was shrouded in explosive air, and as though a massive wild elephant, he charged toward Wang Chong. If he were to be struck by this attack, even a mountain would be torn apart. Not good. Young Master Chong is in danger. In the surroundings, the faces of the descendants from the Zhao, Sun, Ma, and Hu clans darkened. Wang Qi and Wang Zhuyan's faces paled. Just as they were about to step forward to save him, something unexpected happened. Boom! In the blink of an eye, just as Su Xian was charging toward Wang Chong with the speed of a thunderbolt, Wang Chong's figure suddenly leaped into the air. In that instant, Wang Chong seemed to have disappeared. In its place was a vivid, lifelike, and extremely vigorous flood dragon in the sky. The serpent dragon circled in the air before diving down. Heavy punch! Gathering all of his strength, Wang Chong fused the dragon bone art and his heavy punch together before punching downward. Boom! The ground trembled, the stone slabs cracked, and dust billowed in the dueling ground. Indistinctly, one could hear the cry of an elephant. Then, under the dumbfounded gazes of the crowd, Su Xian fell to the ground as though a wooden pillar. Boom! Chapter 107. Everyone was dumbfounded, unable to believe the outcome. Even Yi Yinping's eyebrows shot up, and a hint of astonishment flashed across her eyes. She was well aware of Wang Chong's capabilities. At the very most, he was only at Origin Energy Tier 5 or Tier 6. It was impossible for him to exceed Tier 6. On the other hand, Su Xian was at Origin Energy Tier 7, and he possessed extraordinary martial arts cultivation. There were at least 80 experts who had sparred with him. Regardless of whether it was in terms of experience, reaction, strength, or speed, Su Xian was definitely the cream of the crop among his peers. This was also the reason why she had chosen him. Not to mention, the Duke of Su residence had a formidable, fragrant elephant technique. Yet, Su Xian was easily defeated by a single move from Wang Chong. Su Xian's speed, reaction, and ability to adapt to changing situations were definitely not bad. Even if he was struck down from above like a mountain, he would definitely be able to adapt to changing situations within a short period of time and dodge his opponent's attack or counterattack. Yet, it seemed like Su Xian had fallen easily. This could only mean one thing. Wang Chong's speed, reaction, and grasp of timing were even faster and more formidable than Su Xian's. I have really underestimated him. Yi Yinping's eyebrows shot up. For the first time, she felt that she had underestimated Wang Chong. However, I'm still lacking. Let's talk about it when you catch up to me. Yi Yinping harumphed lightly, and like a proud peacock, she turned around and left. Her cultivation had already surpassed Origin Energy Realm. Even though Wang Chong's cultivation was decent, it was only decent. Yi Yinping would never submit to a weakling. Bone forging pill, handed over. After defeating Su Xian, Wang Chong walked over and stretched out his hand toward the eldest son of the Su clan, Su Jing. Don't get gleeful, you were just lucky this time. Su Jing's face steeled. He didn't believe that Wang Chong could defeat Su Xian. In his view, Su Xian's defeat was just luck. Whether it's luck or not isn't up to you to decide. Hurry up and hand over my pill. Wang Chong said coldly. Without the bone-forging pill, he would have fought for nothing. He would not do such a thing. Even though Su Jing was reluctant to hand over the bone-forging pill in front of so many people, he could only reluctantly hand it over. Brat, well done. A familiar voice sounded from behind, and Wang Zhuyan walked over with a smile. Cousin. Wang Chong called out. I almost thought you were going to lose. Wang Zhuyan smiled as though saying, I've underestimated you. How is that possible? How could I lose to that brat? Wang Chong raised his head and glanced at Su Xian, who was surrounded by the Su family disciples, who were pinching and massaging his philtrum. All right, enough with the nonsense. Do you think I, second sister, don't know how capable you are? Wang Zhuyan scolded jokingly. She still didn't dare to believe that Wang Chong would suddenly become so formidable. In her view, Su Xian's defeat was largely due to luck. Wang Chong chuckled and didn't argue with her. It was good for cousin to think that it was a stroke of luck. At least, he wouldn't scare them with his sudden transformation. After fooling around with his cousin for a while, Wang Chong took the bone-forging pill and anxiously found a secluded place to start his cultivation. Pill-forging bone was no small matter, and such pills were simply too rare. In his previous life, Wang Chong had no affinity with such pills. This was the first time Wang Chong had obtained such a bone-forging pill. A change in one's root bone would bring about a qualitative change. If Wang Chong could break through to Tiger Bone realm, everything would be different. It was good to gain the recognition of Elder Yi, Duke of Hu, and the other elders, but personal strength was equally important. This was also the reason why Wang Chong accepted Su Xian's challenge. If he were to lose today, how would the grandsons of the elders view him? At that time, everything would be different. Wang Chong opened the pocket-sized purple box, and an intense medicinal aroma drifted into his nose. Within the purple box, there was a thumb-sized, glistening jade-white pill that looked like a suet fat ball immediately reflected in his eyes. So this is the bone-forging pill. A hint of astonishment flashed across Wang Chong's eyes. This pill was refined from the inside out, and it exuded an aura of purity. It was no wonder why it was so powerful, capable of altering one's root bone. That elder of the Su clan was definitely an incredible apothecary. It was difficult to cultivate one's root bone, and the Su clan's bone-forging pill was one of the few things he knew that could alter one's root bone. Boom! Leaning against the fake mountain, Wang Chong sat cross-legged on the ground and swallowed the bone-forging pill. There were Imperial Army members patrolling the Four Quarters Embassy, and not even a fly could escape their eyes. Thus, Wang Chong didn't have to worry that someone would do anything to him while he was cultivating. As soon as the pill was swallowed, a powerful medicinal energy immediately surged from Wang Chong's dantian. This medicinal energy was gentle, but it was extremely powerful. As though a hurricane, it swept through Wang Chong's entire body. Palipala. The immense medicinal energy caused the transformation of Wang Chong's bones, and a series of light crackling sounds could be heard from the joints. This energy was no longer limited to the joints, but instead, it began to affect the most important bone in Wang Chong's body, his spine. The spine was known as the dragon bone of the human body, and it was the source of a martial artist's strength. Every movement and every bit of energy had to be channeled through the dragon bone. Even the Ren and Du meridians were attached to the dragon bone. The reason why ferocious beasts were stronger than humans was because they possessed a stronger dragon bone, allowing them to utilize more of their strength. Wang Chong suddenly let out a pained roar from the depths of his throat. Tiny beads of sweat seeped out from his forehead like a drizzle. The transformation of one's root bone was earth-shattering, and every time it happened, it would inevitably be accompanied by immense pain. And now, everything had finally reached the most crucial moment. Rumble. The intense pain was like a tidal wave that howled and circled around his body. After an unknown period of time, the intense pain gradually weakened and became smaller. Wang Chong let out a long breath and stood up from the ground. He felt his entire body drenched in sweat. "I've finally succeeded." A brand new energy filled his body. Wang Chong felt that compared to before, he had finally broken through a bottleneck and reached a new realm. Panther Bone Third Layer. This was the highest realm of the Panther Bone. If he could advance another level, he would reach the realm of Tiger Bone. This was a cultivation that only many martial generals possessed. Wang Chong let out a long sigh of relief and stretched his bones. A series of crackling sounds came from all over his body. Wang Chong could feel that his bones had become denser. Panther Bone Third Layer, reaching the pinnacle of the Panther Bone, didn't just bring about a change in strength and root bone, it also brought about a change in speed. The sound of birds chirping echoed in his ears. Turning around, Wang Chong saw a sparrow jumping around on a bamboo branch 5 to 6 steps away, chirping nonstop. The Four Quarters Embassy was extremely peaceful, so such sparrows weren't uncommon. A glint flashed across Wang Chong's eyes. All of a sudden, the muscles on his body constricted before exploding forth. As though a sharp arrow, he dashed straight into the bamboo forest. His speed was so fast that it caused a huge gale in the surroundings. The sparrow instinctively sensed danger, and a sliver of fear flashed across its round eyes. Then, with a flap of its wings, it soared into the sky. However, even though the sparrow's reaction was fast, Wang Chong's was even faster. The sparrow had barely flown a few chi into the air when a slender and powerful palm reached out from the side. With a flash of lightning, the palm grabbed the sparrow tightly. The sparrow widened its eyes in fear. It tried to flap its wings, but it was unable to move at all. Panther Bone 3 Dan is indeed capable of capturing birds. Wang Chong looked at the sparrow in his palm and chuckled. This type of sparrow was extremely alert, and it was impossible for humans to approach it. Without incredible speed, it was impossible to capture it. This was also the result of Wang Chong consuming the bone-forging pill and reaching Panther Bone 3 Dan. His bones had become denser, and his muscles possessed greater explosive strength. However, the flaw of the Panther Bone is obvious. Its lack of stamina. The amount of energy required to capture a bird is even greater than that of a battle. With a bitter smile, Wang Chong loosened his grip. Looking at the frightened sparrow, it chirped noisily as it flew out of his palm. At the same time, large amounts of hot sweat flowed down from every part of Wang Chong's body. A fatigued expression could be seen on Wang Chong's face. When a fighter reaches Panther Bone 3 Dan, their strength and speed would be boosted significantly. Even though it couldn't be compared to a real leopard, it was still very fast. However, this wasn't a true speed-type cultivation technique. The result of such a burst of potential was the current state that Wang Chong was in. His entire body was exhausted, and he wouldn't even have the strength to run a dozen meters. This was also the reason why, even though the leopard was known as the fastest animal in the animal world, this fastest was limited to a distance of 100 meters. Beyond 100 meters, the leopard would have to rest, and the hunt would be a failure. This was also the reason why Panther Bone got its name. Such a short burst of potential wasn't practical on the battlefield. It was no different from courting death. Thus, to raise one's speed, one had to practice cultivation techniques that could greatly increase one's speed. For example, the specter steps of that female assassin. After resting for a moment to recover his stamina, Wang Chong walked over to the erudite pavilion. The grandsons of the Su clan had already disappeared from the square. After Su Xian's humiliation, Su Xiao didn't have the face to remain here any longer. After greeting his grandfather, he left hurriedly with his grandsons. Every year, Su Xiao would use the excuse of offering his blessings to cause trouble for Duke Jiao's birthday. However, this time he failed completely. In the Four Quarters Embassy, the guests who came to offer their blessings came and went in waves. Some were here purely to congratulate Wang Chong, and some were here with malicious intentions. Wang Chong recognized some of them, and there were some that Wang Chong didn't. However, gradually Wang Chong felt that something was amiss. The people who came later to offer their blessings all had a lot on their minds. It seemed that it wasn't as simple as just offering their blessings, but something else. Wang Chong even saw a few influential officials in the royal court. Not only did they pay respects to his grandfather in the erudite pavilion, they even pulled Big Uncle along to discuss something before leaving. Every single one of them seemed worried. Big Uncle was the same as them, and he even made an exception to escort them all the way to the entrance of the Four Quarters Embassy. It's for the matter of Consort Taijin. As this thought flashed through Wang Chong's mind, he suddenly understood, and then he was struck by shock. Judging from the atmosphere in the Four Quarters Embassy, the matter of Consort Taijin was far more serious than he had imagined. At this moment, Wang Chong suddenly recalled something. Chapter 108. Even though the regional commander system and the Hu strategy were far more important to the future of the empire than the Consort Taijin incident, Wang Chong still felt that the Consort Taijin incident was far more important. However, Wang Chong knew that this matter was undoubtedly the most important matter in the royal court, and it had captured the attention of nearly all of the officials. The harm that the regional commander's policy and the Hu strategy would bring to the empire was a matter of the future, but the Consort Taijin incident was a matter of the present. Its influence in the imperial court and the number of ministers affected was definitely the greatest in the history of this dynasty. Big Uncle is still worried about her. Wang Chong looked at his big uncle, who was still in the midst of a frantic discussion with an imperial censor, and he couldn't help but feel a little worried. Big Uncle was an influential official in the royal court, but this identity of his had become a hindrance to him. On top of that, grandfather's lofty standing had made him the leader of those who opposed the consort Taijin incident. In the future, once the matter was settled, Big Uncle's punishment would probably be the heaviest. This isn't good. Wang Chong lowered his head and frowned. The consort Taijin incident involved the duties of an official as well as the etiquette of the feudal system. Wang Chong was certain that if he hadn't brought up the regional commander's policy and disrupted Big Uncle's plans, he would have surely brought up the matter of consort Taijin incident and sought the support of the old master. Wang Chong wanted to persuade him, but he knew that Big Uncle might agree with him on the matter of the regional commander's policy. However, Big Uncle would never agree with him on the matter of consort Taijin incident. Not only would he not agree with him, he would even reprimand him sternly. Even the old master wouldn't stand on his side. Big Uncle wouldn't listen to anyone's advice when it involved his duties as an official. This was also the reason why Wang Chong didn't bring up the matter in the conference hall. His Highness the King of Song has arrived. Just as Wang Chong's mind was in turmoil, a resounding voice suddenly sounded from the direction of the entrance. Hong long long, the ground quaked, and Wang Chong seemed to hear the sound of a tidal wave. Outside the Four Quarters Embassy, at the end of the street, a carriage drove over. A majestic aura emanated from the carriage, as though the rising sun. However, this aura exuded a domineering aura that was both gentle and domineering. He's finally here. Sensing this aura, Wang Chong heaved a long sigh of relief. The Wang clan had a close relationship with King Song for 3 generations, and after the consort Taijin incident, all of the influential officials in the royal court, including Big Uncle Wang Zhen, had followed King Song's orders. To resolve this crisis and prevent the consort Taijin incident from affecting half of the officials in the royal court, this matter had to fall on the shoulders of the King of Song. Your Highness, you're finally here. At the entrance of the Four Quarters Embassy, upon seeing the arrival of the King of Song, Wang Zhen's spirits rose. On this day, there were too many things that distracted him. But in Wang Zhen's heart, there was no doubt that the matter regarding consort Taijin was still on his mind. This matter implicated half of the officials in the royal court, and it had already become a huge political storm in the Tang dynasty. Have you spoken to the old master? The carriage door opened, and King Song, dressed in imperial robes, stepped out. His expression was grim, and it seemed like he had a lot on his mind. Not yet. Wang Zhen shook his head. What the old master was concerned about at the moment was how he could remonstrate the Holy Emperor and stop the regional commanders and utilize the Hu strategy. At this moment, Wang Zhen really didn't know how he should approach him. In the end, he could only wait for the arrival of the King of Song. Your Highness, the matter of consort Taijin incident is no small matter. This concerns the reputation of the officials and His Majesty's clean reputation. No matter what, we have to stop this matter. As a father, how can he take his son's wife as his consort? If this matter were to spread, wouldn't the clean reputation of the Holy Emperor be tarnished? He would become a laughingstock of the populace. His Majesty is currently engrossed in lust, and he doesn't even realize it. He will surely wake up after a period of time, but by then, it will already be too late. As officials, no matter what, we can't allow His Majesty to commit such a mistake. We have to find a way to wake him up from his lust. Wang Zhen said gravely. Isn't that what I'm thinking as well? A father taking his son's wife as his consort is a scandal of the royal family, as well as a scandal of the Tang dynasty. The King of Song nodded, but his heart was also filled with worry. It's a pity that with King Qi and the Yao clan behind the scenes, more than half of the officials support His Majesty taking Yang Taijin into the royal palace as his consort. His Majesty is deeply engrossed in lust, so I can only think of a way to get Duke Jiao to lend me a hand. This is also the main reason why I rushed over to offer my blessings. Duke Jiao is an elder of the royal court, and he wields great influence in the royal court. At the same time, he is also a meritorious minister, and His Majesty has great trust in him. If he were to appear, he would surely be able to change this scandal of the royal family and prevent a repeat of the previous dynasty. That's what I'm thinking as well. His Majesty's clean reputation isn't easy to achieve. It can't be ruined in the hands of a woman. Wang Zhen sighed. Your Highness, please come with me. Something happened along the way, so allow me to explain it to you in the future. Wang Zhen extended his hand and led the King of Song to where the old master was resting. Watching this sight from afar, Wang Chong slowly retracted his gaze and a sliver of worry flashed across his eyes. He had seen the conversation between Big Uncle and the King of Song clearly. From the looks of it, the both of them were determined to stop the consort Tai Zhen. To Wang Chong, this wasn't a good thing. Young friend, so you're here. Suddenly, a voice sounded in his ears. Shocked, Wang Chong turned around and saw a scholar dressed in a loose robe walking toward him with a smile. Recovering from his shock, Wang Chong bowed. The person who came was none other than academic Lu Ting, whom Wang Chong met once in the vast crane pavilion. When will Chong Gongzi be returning? Lu Ting smiled. After dinner. Wang Chong was taken aback for a moment before replying. It was rare for the Wang clan to gather together. Only on grandfather's birthday would there be such an opportunity. This was a routine gathering of the Wang clan. In his previous life, he was a loner. Thus, in this life, Wang Chong cherished this opportunity. That's good. On behalf of the King of Song, I would like to invite Gongzi for a meeting. Lu Ting revealed the purpose of his visit. Lu Ting had a good impression of this descendant of the Wang clan. In truth, he was the one who facilitated the meeting between the King of Song and Wang Chong. Wang Chong was taken aback for a moment before nodding his head. All right. It just so happens that I would like to meet the King of Song. Lu Ting lifted his head and stared at Wang Chong in surprise. This time, it was his turn to be surprised. As the time grew late, the crowd gradually dispersed. Elder Yi, Duke of Hu, Elder Zhao, Elder Sun, Elder Ma, and the others also left the Four Quarters Embassy with their grandchildren. Soon, the entire Four Quarters Embassy fell silent. Wang Chong waited outside for an hour before he finally saw the King of Song walking out. However, his complexion wasn't too good. It seems like the King of Song didn't get what he wanted. Wang Chong shook his head. In his previous life, he didn't have a deep understanding of the matter regarding consort Tai Zhen. As such, there were many details that he wasn't clear about. Regarding the matter regarding consort Tai Zhen, his grandfather's attitude was extremely vague. The Song clan and Wang clan had several generations of friendship. On many important matters, his grandfather had supported the King of Song, and the King of Song had supported the Wang clan. The two of them shared similar views on many important matters in the royal court. In fact, it was due to this relationship that Big Uncle and the King of Song even formed an alliance in the royal court. Most of the time, before a royal court meeting, they would discuss and exchange opinions. On the matter regarding consort Tai Zhen, Wang Chong thought that his grandfather would support the King of Song. However, that wasn't the case. His grandfather didn't support consort Tai Zhen, but he didn't oppose it either. On this matter, his grandfather chose to remain silent. His grandfather had spent most of his life in the midst of storms, and he had experienced many important matters. When it came to the Sage Emperor, grandfather had always been straightforward with him, rarely avoiding the taboo. However, on the matter of consort Tai Zhen, his grandfather chose to remain silent. This was an extremely rare sight. Even after several decades, Wang Chong still couldn't understand it. In the end, Wang Chong could only understand that since Big Uncle had already expressed his stance, it wasn't appropriate for his grandfather to do so. However, Wang Chong felt that there was more to this matter than meets the eye. From afar, Lu Ting walked over and whispered a few words into the King of Song's ears. The King of Song's face was originally gloomy, but at this moment, he forcefully lifted his spirits and his complexion became much better. Wang Chong met with the King of Song near a fake mountain and a bamboo forest. The surroundings were silent, and only a few Imperial Army members were patrolling the area. Upon seeing Wang Chong, the King of Song's mood seemed to improve, and a smile appeared on his face. Your big uncle told me about it. Truly, heroes come from the young. The king of Song wasn't stingy with his compliments. He had heard about the entire matter regarding Yao Guangyi from Wang General. If not for the fact that it came from Wang Zhen's mouth, he wouldn't have believed it. The king of Song found it hard to believe that someone as scheming as Yao Guangyi would lose to a 15-year-old child. I've already issued a gag order on that matter. Everyone who knows about it is forbidden from spreading it. I wonder if anyone knows that you were the one who stopped Yao Guangyi. The king of Song said. The king of Song had a deep impression of Wang Chong. To be able to defeat a formidable opponent like Yao Guangyi at such a young age, it was truly inconceivable. This was also the reason why the king of Song wanted to meet Wang Chong on his birthday. Thank you, Your Highness. Wang Chong bowed. Given the many years of friendship between the Song and Wang clan, the king of Song would subconsciously side with the Wang clan on this matter. This was also the reason why the Wang clan submitted to the king of Song. He speak. What reward do you want? As long as it's within my means, I'll give it to you. The king of Song said generously. Your Highness has already given me a reward. Wang Chong rejected. That's a different matter. That time, it was the king of Song who bestowed it to you. This time, it's a gift from an elder, so I can't reject it. Welcome to Legends of Cultivation, audiobooks, where we bring ancient fantasy to life through storytelling. Follow the rise of heroes who defy fate, unlock mystical powers, and battle across celestial realms. Our audiobooks are crafted for fans of Chinese cultivation novels, filled with battles, breakthroughs, and legendary artifacts. Subscribe and be part of an unforgettable journey into the realm of immortality.